Ever wondered how much it costs to conquer the highest peak in the world, Mount Everest? Well, prepare for a reality check. The journey to the top of the world is not just a test of physical and mental fortitude, but also a significant financial commitment. Firstly, let's talk about permits. The Nepalese government charges a hefty fee for the privilege of climbing this majestic peak. A single permit can cost you a whopping $11,000. Yes, $11,000 just for the right to start climbing. Then comes the gear. Everest is no stroll in the park. You'll need specialized equipment to survive the harsh conditions. We're talking about high-altitude clothing, climbing gear, tents, oxygen tanks, the list goes on. A rough estimate for this gear? Around $10,000. Next, we have the guides. Unless you're a seasoned mountaineer with extensive high-altitude experience, you'll need a professional to guide you up the mountain. Sherpas, the local mountain guides known for their expertise, charge a few $1,000s for their invaluable service. What about training? You can't just decide to climb Mount Everest on a whim. It requires months, if not years, of physical conditioning and technical training. Preparing for this epic journey may set you back another few $1,000s depending on the level of training required. But why are these costs necessary? Well, climbing Mount Everest is not just about the thrill of the climb, it's about survival. The harsh weather, the thin air, the difficult terrain, they all pose significant risks. Every dollar spent on permits, gear, guides, and training increases your chance of not just reaching the top, but coming back down safely. So when you add up all these costs, you're looking at a total of around $40,000, and that's a conservative estimate. Some expeditions can cost as much as $85,000. So, as you can see, reaching the top of the world comes with a hefty price tag. Now that we've got an idea about the cost, what about timing? When is the best time to climb Mount Everest? Climbing Mount Everest is no walk in the park, and timing plays a critical role in ensuring a successful ascent. The ideal climbing months are typically late April to late May. This is the pre-monsoon season, when the weather conditions are relatively stable, the skies are clear, and the winds are less fierce. The temperatures, although still below freezing, are more manageable than in the harsh winter months. The reason these specific months are considered the best time to climb is that they offer a brief window of favorable conditions between the harsh winter and the unpredictable monsoon season. However, keep in mind that Mount Everest is notorious for its unpredictable and extreme weather. So even during these months, climbers face significant risks. Choosing the right time to climb is just as crucial as having the right gear and training. While climbing, dangers lurk at every step, but fear not. The rescue teams are always on standby. Imagine a group of individuals trained to brave the harshest conditions, always ready to put their lives on the line to ensure the safety of climbers on Mount Everest. That's the rescue team for you. Rescue teams are often composed of Sherpas, local people of Nepal who are well acquainted with the mountain's terrain and weather. Their intimate knowledge of the mountain, coupled with their physical adaptability to high altitudes, makes them invaluable members of the rescue team. The training these teams undergo is rigorous and demanding. They are taught advanced mountaineering techniques, first aid, and high-altitude rescue operations. They train in simulated high-risk situations to be prepared for any eventuality. But what exactly do they do? When a distress call is made, the rescue team springs into action. They navigate treacherous paths, battle severe weather, and endure extreme altitudes to reach climbers in distress. Their job is to stabilize the situation, administer first aid if necessary, and then coordinate the evacuation of the injured party to a lower altitude or a medical camp. Now let's highlight a few rescue stories for some context. In 2016, a team of Sherpas saved a climber who had fallen into a crevasse at an altitude of 20,000 feet. They pulled him out and carried him down to a lower camp where he received medical assistance. In another instance, in 2018, a rescue team successfully evacuated a group of climbers who were trapped in a sudden snowstorm, saving them from potential frostbite or worse. These stories are just a few examples of the countless lives that have been saved by the bravery and dedication of these rescue teams. They work tirelessly, often in the background, to ensure that every climber's journey is as safe as it can possibly be. The rescue teams are the unsung heroes of Mount Everest, ensuring climbers' safety in the most challenging conditions. Climbing Mount Everest is a taxing endeavor, not just physically, but also mentally. Let's talk about the medical help available on the mountain. The extreme conditions of Everest can present a host of medical challenges to climbers. The thin air at high altitudes often leads to altitude sickness, a potentially life-threatening condition that can cause severe headaches, nausea, and shortness of breath. Frostbite and hypothermia are also common ailments due to the frigid temperatures, and the physical exertion can lead to exhaustion or even heart problems. To combat these challenges, there are medical facilities available at the various base camps along the climb. These facilities are equipped to provide emergency care and are often stocked with oxygen cylinders, essential medicines, and first aid supplies. They are designed to stabilize patients and, if necessary, prepare them for evacuation. High-altitude doctors play a pivotal role in the health and safety of climbers. These specialists are trained to recognize and treat altitude-related illnesses and other mountaineering injuries. They also advise climbers on how to acclimate to the high altitude and prevent illness. In addition to their medical expertise, these doctors often have climbing experience themselves, allowing them to understand the unique challenges that climbers face. One of the most common health issues climbers face is acute mountain sickness, or AMS. This condition is caused by rapid exposure to low amounts of oxygen at high elevation. Symptoms can range from mild, like headaches and fatigue, to severe, such as difficulty walking and shortness of breath. If left untreated, AMS can progress to more serious conditions like high-altitude pulmonary edema or high-altitude cerebral edema, both of which can be fatal. While the risks are high and the environment is harsh, it's important to remember that climbers are not alone in their health struggles. The medical facilities and personnel on Everest are there to help ensure that climbers can pursue their dreams safely. The mountain may be a formidable opponent, but with the right preparation and access to medical help, climbers can conquer Everest without compromising their health. Though the mountain is harsh, climbers are never alone in their health struggles. After a long day of climbing, where do these climbers rest their weary bodies? Well, they find solace in the various accommodations strategically dotted along the ascent of Everest. The journey to the summit is not only about conquering the peak, but also about surviving the extreme weather conditions and the brutal cold. And that's where these shelters come into play. The accommodations on Everest range from basic tents to more substantial structures at the base camps. The climbers usually start their journey with a comfortable stay at a lodge in the base camp, getting acclimatized to the altitude and preparing for the climb. As they ascend, the luxury of the lodges is replaced with the practicality of tents. These are not your average camping tents, though. They are high-altitude tents, designed to withstand the harsh weather conditions of Everest. They are wind-resistant, waterproof, and insulated to keep the climbers warm in the freezing temperatures. Moreover, the tents are lightweight and compact, making them ideal for carrying on the climb. Despite their size, they provide enough room for the climbers to rest and recover, and even cook a warm meal. The climbers' accommodations are more than just a place to sleep. They are a sanctuary, providing a much-needed respite from the harsh elements outside. Even on Everest, climbers can find a place to rest and rejuvenate for the journey ahead. Mount Everest is not just about freezing temperatures. Avalanches and flooding pose significant threats too. As climbers ascend the slopes of this majestic peak, they tread lightly, aware of the shifting snow and ice beneath their feet. Avalanches have brought many an Everest expedition to a tragic halt. These mighty, uncontrollable forces of nature can be triggered by a single misstep, or even the smallest shift in weather conditions. The risk of flooding is equally daunting. Melting snow and ice, driven by rising temperatures, can lead to flash floods that can sweep away everything in their path. Some climbers have been caught unawares, trapped in the middle of these sudden wild torrents. But fear not, dear adventurers. Measures have been put in place to mitigate these risks. Advanced weather forecasting technology helps predict avalanches and floods, allowing climbers to adjust their plans accordingly. Man-made structures like avalanche barriers and flood control channels provide some level of protection, while rigorous training prepares climbers to respond effectively to these threats. Yet despite these safeguards, the reality remains. Climbing Mount Everest is a gamble against nature's unpredictability. But it's this very element of danger, the thrill of the unknown, that draws adventurers from around the globe.